Hello, and welcome to this week's session of Advanced Maneuvers. We're going to practice several figure eights this week. So let's make sure we have everything set up. We have our drone, the quadcopter X, and we want to use that drone again. We have our navigation guides set up, and we have our radio. So in case you didn't remember, the aircraft can be picked by select aircraft, and you're going to look for quadcopter X, hit OK. Your environment is going to be an airport called Joe's Garage HD, and you're going to select OK, and you should be here at this point. Then under gadgets, you want to have your navigation guides, your radio, and your viewport. In your viewport again, you want to change it to view, camera type, live FPV feed. And we're going to be using the view a little bit today to kind of try to help assist us. So we're going to make that view just a little bit bigger today. And then we're ready to begin. Okay, remember on our nav guides, we want to at least have the altitude. You can have the battery or the percent power remaining. Distance from the pilot won't matter as much on this one. Ground speed might matter, heading and voltage. And then again, the radio, which is really a picture of your remote control. So if you are having difficulty, your instructor can assist you. We're going to do two different kinds of figure eights, a little bit more difficult than last week. So what you're going to do is, instead of giving me 10 figure eights with the camera facing the pilot, or rather away from the pilot, you're going to give me 5 each of 2 different kinds of figure eights. So we're going to go through those right now. First thing, of course, is, and you should remember this, and this should become second nature to you at this point, you're going to go through the pre-flight checklist that we've provided. You're going to look at the fuselage, the gimbal, the propellers, the motors. You're going to make sure all the props are running. You would check the camera lenses, the SD card, etc. Under normal circumstances. So you're just going to repetitively go through these pre-flight checks, because this is something you're going to do in the real world. So we want to simulate at least saying the components and saying check to them. So fuselage, check. Propellers, check. That way this becomes ingrained in your mentality, so when you leave the simulated environment and go to the real world flying environment, it becomes second nature to you. The second thing, as you know, and we're going to do this before every flight that we can, is we want to do a control check. So we want to check what we're doing with the drone to make sure it's operating correctly. And in these maneuvers, most importantly, is that our remote control is calibrated. So let's go up to about 3 or 4 feet. We'll choose 4 because that's where we're going to basically fly today. We want to make sure we hover like we are now in a very controlled manner. We want to check the yaw, release the stick, and then we want the yaw to stop. We're going to yaw the other direction. You'll see the left-hand stick moving to the left, and we're going to stop. Next, we're going to try to ascend to 10 feet, hover, and then we'll descend. Let's say for these exercises, we're going to stick at about 5 feet above the ground. So get yourself to the 5-foot mark. Now, roll to the right. Make sure it stops. Roll to the left. Make sure it stops. Pitch in reverse. And pitch forward. And we look like we have a very good controllable drone, calibrated remote control, and we're set to go. And this is an important component, especially for these advanced flights, these figure eight flights. So, when we did our figure eight last week, what we did is we faced our camera facing the billboard direction. Today we're going to reverse course, reverse direction, and turn the drone 180 degrees so it is facing the pilot. You will not see yourself, but you will see the view in the lower left-hand corner. Now, what we want to do at this point is we want to duplicate our figure eights. So this is backwards, so it's going to be a little bit difficult at first, but you'll get the hang of it. So remember, we have a flag on the right-hand side, and we have a flag on the left-hand side. So let's center between them. We might want to move back a little bit. And again, this will be a little bit difficult at first for you to kind of do. So go nice and slow. Make sure you're reversed enough. And think about, okay, I want to try to do a figure 8 around this flag. So I'm going to come nice and slow, go around the flag. It's going to be a little jerky at first. And you're going to continue. And again, a little bit slower, but you're going to reverse your figure 8s. And you want to practice enough times that this becomes a smoother maneuver for you. See, that's not very smooth. That's more like a squared off block figure 8. So it takes a little bit of time and a little bit of practice to get to these figure 8s. Especially because, again, it's the reverse of the one you practiced last week. So eventually what you want to do is straighten out your yaw. Okay, you've practiced, you've gotten your maneuvers. So now what you want to do is start over, hit your reset button, do your control check, go through, and then say, okay, can I do a decent figure 8 around these flags? And again, we're not looking for it to be perfect as much as we're looking for you to have some understanding of the controls. Okay, now here's a kind of a thing you have to watch. Make sure while you're doing this, your figure 8s, that you can do your best to maintain altitude. That will shift a little bit, especially on the next maneuver. So I'm looking for you to give me your 5 best figure 8s around these flags, like I'm doing now. So you can see I keep going a little bit from 4 to 5. Some of that is because I'm really hard on the stick. So one of the things you may find helpful to you, to give you kind of a hint, is instead of holding that controller in your hand, put the controller down on a hard surface like your desk or like a table when you're flying in real life, and try 2 fingers, your thumb and index finger, and your thumb and index finger on your controls. Now, a little secret to this maneuver, you won't necessarily need the left-hand control as much because you don't need to yaw. Once you've done that, see if this improves your figure 8s a little bit by using the 2-finger method. And you can see I'm a little bit smoother on these, maybe a little bit of a box there, but I'm trying. And then, you know, start to speed these up and see how well you can do your figure 8 maneuvers around the flag. All right, so not my best effort there, but you get the sense of it. Okay, now a little bit different maneuver. So find our helipad again. Yaw. Let's even out here with our helipad. And let's stick this to make sure we're about 5 feet. And just get yourself ready on the helipad for the next maneuver. Okay, so you're going to do 5 of those camera facing the pilot figure 8s. And then we're going to do what I call 5 just figure 8s. And by figure 8s, I mean you're going to yaw the aircraft around the flag so that you're constantly looking at the flags. So let's move forward a little bit. All right, and let's get ourselves lined up with the flags as best we can. So if we yaw this way, we should see a flag. We may have to maneuver a little bit. So we're actually even with those flags. So you can see there are 4 flags, so you can practice orbiting here. Now let's yaw to the other direction. And if you're looking in the viewport, there's the other flag right there. It's a little bit difficult to see there. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to fly a figure 8 and go very slow at first, where your goal is to always be going forward. So you're going to yaw around and try to keep that flag in the middle of your circles. That one was a little tight on around the circle, but you get the gist of what I'm looking for here. You're going nice and slow. You're making straight movement figure 8s as best you can, and you're coming around. And I want you to try to do 5 of those. 5 figure 8s where you're always facing forward. So you're yawing with the left hand stick, you're pitching, rolling, whatever maneuvers you need to do with the right hand stick. So let me kind of show you again. We're going to turn as if, and you may have to constantly adjust your altitude a little bit. You may find, especially in the beginning, that you are losing or gaining altitude, and this is something, again, that takes a tremendous amount of practice. And the simulator is also very good, and you can see that although I did a figure 8, I'm not sure I was around the flag there, so that again takes a little bit of practice and probably not talking. And we're going to just continue to practice this maneuver nice and slow till you get the hang of it. And this is all practice. All flying drones is practice. Okay, you can now see it. You can say, oh, my professor's depth perception on video games is not effective. That is probably true, so we're going to just continue flying straight. Coming up, you're going to give me 5 of your best of those. And you're going to look for the helipad. At the end, do your 5 of each figure 8. Practice a good, we'll be able to tell whether you did it in a minute or you took some time to practice. You know how I'll know if you did it quickly? It'll look a lot like mine. Boom, nice landing. Done for the day. Okay, again, start slow. Start on the simulation physics. And on this one, because of the way the quadcopter X, I do not recommend beginner because the yawing slows down. But if you need to, start at intermediate, then move your way like where I was to realistic. Practice as much as you can and give us 5 good figure 8s for each one. And again, you can either videotape yourself with this using something like Screencast-O-Matic. You can use your iPhone behind you. You can get on GoToMeeting with your instructor and do your maneuvers and take some live tips, which again is probably the best way to do it. Or you can, if you get an opportunity in the lab, do your maneuver in front of your instructor live, if that's possible. So all these are available to you. Take your time, practice, sit and practice until you get these maneuvers. They become second nature to you. Remember, it's like riding a bike, but in that you'll gain this skill and ability. But in the long term, if you don't practice it regularly, you'll start to lose it. So you can see over the last several months, I have not been able to get out there and fly as much as I would have liked. I have not been able to had time to get on the simulator. So you see my choppy movements. And that's what you want to try to avoid. You want to work on things. So I try to do these in a very realistic way for you rather than come in and practice for 3 hours before I do each of these videos, so you can see that all of us, even if we've reached and have been evaluated on our flight abilities when we've been practiced, and when we kind of get a little dry and a little behind in our practicing, our sticks can become a little choppy, our flight maneuvers, and these are things you want to avoid. Because think about it like this, those choppy pictures that you may be experiencing, or those choppy flights now, they're going to reflect themselves in any video that a client might want you to take. So smooth, steady, level, really controlled flights will give you the best outcome from your video or pictures, especially if you have to be moving the drone manually rather than autonomously while we're flying. So again, went a little bit long today, but trying to give you some tips, because in the future weeks what will happen is your basic maneuvers and your 2 weeks of advanced maneuvers that we've just completed with this week will grow into some practice maneuvers, some sense and avoid maneuvers, some orbiting maneuvers. So we're going to tie all these together, and it's going to make sense for you in the long term. All right, we'll see you in the next video. Good luck, and definitely try to do a better job than I did this morning. Take care.